Clinic has truly been a transformational experience for me. To take but one of the projects I worked on, I traveled to Turkey for 8 days to work on an issue involving the Kurdish conflict, looking at the ways in which transitional justice may play a role in the context of an ongoing conflict on issues like torture and forced disappearance. And what was really incredible about the project is in a really short time we were able to build trust with our partners on the ground and with direct victims. And I'll never forget moments like meeting with a group of socially justice-oriented progressive Kurdish imams and hearing about the incredible work they were doing around the conflict, or meeting with Peace Mothers, a group of Kurdish mothers who each had experienced a direct loss in the ongoing conflict, and to hear their narratives and to brainstorm with them how we at Stanford and how the law in general could play a role in dealing with the everyday realities they face on the ground.
Hi, I'm Marian Fielding. My first project for the clinic entailed doing a commercial agreement for a nationwide charter school. During the project, I learned an enormous amount of practical experience, from learning about the drafting process to the importance of technical accuracy, attention to detail, and working with precedent documents. However, what stands out to me the most about the project is my initial consultation with the General Counsel. During our small talk, after I told him where I was from, he actually let me know that he was part of the team that was responsible for the door-to-door recruiting of students in my particular neighborhood in Dallas. At that moment, that project was no longer just a generic project. Here was an organization that was doing good, and not just in the abstract sense, but in my own backyard. I realized that I was using the tools and the legal skills that I was developing in clinic to help an organization that was helping my own community. And that was a great feeling.
My name is Julia, and I'm a 3L. I wanted to talk to you about my clinic experience. I got to do 2 very different projects in my clinic. I had to work on an advocacy case, which was more of a big picture policy case, and also an individual client case. My advocacy project was an amicus brief that we filed before the Ninth Circuit and Bank, and my individual client case was working with a survivor of domestic violence. And my individual client case was a really fantastic experience. It really challenged my own biases and helped me become a more compassionate and better advocate, because I got to work with a male survivor of domestic violence, and that really helped me become a better listener and taught me to not prejudge my clients. And I also got to try out a lot of different client counseling strategies, which helped me figure out what kind of lawyer I want to be. Overall, I feel like my clinic experience was the most valuable part of my law school education and really prepared me to be a practitioner.
My name is Ashley Sims, and one of the most interesting things that I've experienced through the clinic process was actually through an investigation of an alleged Brown Act violation. And I actually got an assignment from my supervisor, and he basically gave me complete leeway to go about the investigation in whatever way that I felt was appropriate. And I had a lot of interactions with actually the reporting party. And it was interesting because in law school we're a lot of times taught that as attorneys we'll bring the legal expertise and the client or the witness is going to bring the facts. And in that situation it wasn't like that at all. Actually, the person I was working with had a lot more legal expertise in the area than I did, but I found it really enriching that I could not only really explain my views on the legal framework and test them against the person that I was talking to, but also go to them for experience of the facts.
Hi, I'm Vanessa, and my partner and I represented a client who was charged with DUI and driving on a suspended license, but this wasn't a typical DUI case. What was interesting about it was that our client and his twin brother were found intoxicated in a parked car, which they had been sitting in for a couple of hours, and there was alcohol found in the car. So it was going to be really difficult for the prosecution to prove that our client was under the influence at the time of driving. At the pretrial conference, the prosecution didn't offer our client a good deal, so he decided that he wanted to go to trial. And it was an amazing experience preparing for trial. We were going to call an expert, so we had to interview her. We had to prepare direct and cross-examination questions. We prepared opening and closing statements, jury voir dire questions, and wrote pretrial motions. And we also determined that the prosecution's whole case really depended on having our client's brother testify. And we knew that he didn't have to testify if he asserted his Fifth Amendment privilege. So we were all set to go. And on the morning of trial, we went back into the judge's chambers, and once it was made official by our client's brother's attorney that the brother was going to assert his Fifth Amendment privilege, the DA agreed to dismiss our client's DUI charges if he pled guilty to driving on a suspended license. And that was a charge that we weren't going to fight at trial anyway. So this was the best possible offer we could have ever hoped for. And our client was so happy, and he had been such an amazing client throughout the whole process, so it really felt good to be able to help him. It was an extremely rewarding experience.
My name is Julia Reese, and I had a really great experience in clinic this past quarter. And I would say that my favorite project that I worked on was an expulsion case. What made it so great was getting to counsel our client from the beginning to the end. He came to us and he really felt lost and felt like he had lost control over the situation. And we were able to negotiate with the school, get some really great concessions from the school, and then come back to our client and sit down actually in the clinic space and counsel him through all of the problems that he was having with the whole process, what all of his options were. And we got to draw on our own experiences and talk to him about what was important to him in his education. And at the end of that meeting, we came out of it and he was ready to make a decision. And I think that that was the most important thing to me, was empowering him to take control over his educational life again and make that decision himself. And it was an incredibly rewarding experience, and I would recommend it to anyone.
Hi, my name is Alex Aaronson. One of the things I was really looking for when I came into the clinic was an opportunity to build practical litigation skills. And I got that opportunity right out of the gate in the sort of fast-paced environment of an eviction defense. Our clients were two elderly people who were being evicted from their homes of 15 years after a foreclosure, and they had received a notice to vacate and brought it to us and didn't know what to do. They didn't have any money, they didn't have a place to go, and so we needed to buy them time. And fortunately, we were able to identify a flaw in the notice to vacate, and we drafted and filed a demurrer. We argued the demurrer in Superior Court, and eventually, while the demurrer was pending, since we had kind of made the legally correct argument, we're able to secure a settlement with the bank and got them 3 extra months and $5,000 to help them move. So, I mean, when I think about my clinic experience, that really stands out to me as the chance I had to build those litigation skills and also a chance to help people and build really great client relationships.
Hi, my name is Denise Drake. I was a full-time student in the clinic in the fall, and I enjoyed it so much that I've come back as an advanced student. And one of my favorite projects that I worked on in clinic was a petition for certiorari we did, where the question presented was whether constitutional due process requires the prosecution to disprove an element negating defense. And once we were even able to wrap our heads around what that meant, my team and I would joke that it sounded like the type of question that a mean professor might put on a first-year constitutional law exam. But what made it so different from an exam was that the question didn't exist in a vacuum and it wasn't theoretical. We had a real client whose life had been so altered by the answer to that question that it may have made the difference between him being in prison and him being free. So it was such a unique experience to be working with these high-level constitutional questions while having that reminder that real people face the consequences.
So my name is Peter, and I've been working on a case to protect endangered coho salmon in a nearby county in California. I feel great about the case for 2 reasons. The first is that it's just good to be working on an issue that's so important, and I think protecting endangered salmon habitat is really a worthwhile cause. But also it's given me a great chance to look at the different facets of litigation and be involved and get my hands dirty with it. I have done a bunch of research and writing on a trial brief on the merits of the case, which has given me a great opportunity to become familiar with California environmental statutes. I've also seen how real-time litigation tactics are developed on the ground in meetings with clients, sometimes at the last minute, and that's kind of fun. And I'm going to get the opportunity to argue an appellate brief here in a couple of days. I'm really excited about that too. So it's been an overall great experience and one you just can't get in the classroom.